So before I missed last class, but before that also I did attend one class.
Okay, before that you attended only one class. So
Yes, sir, like
okay, so can you tell me what you did with me? Then I'll be able to like start.
zygomycetes.
Just a minute. Samara, let me open the fungal classification. So this was the fungal classification which we were doing, right? So in this fungal classification, we did Phycomycetes. Is it that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we did Zygomycetes.
Yes, sir.
Fine. So like we are supposed to do with Ascomycetes and Basidiomycetes and then Deuteromycetes. Is it that?
So we did that also.
We did that also. Like we did Ascomycetes, we did Basidiomycetes, and we again we did this one as well, Deuteromycetes.
Maybe we have to do Deuteromycetes.
We have to do okay. So we were supposed to do Deuteromycetes only. That is the only thing which is left with the fungi.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So let's start with the Deuteromycetes, right? So before starting with the Deuteromycetes, please tell me if you have any problem in Phycomycetes, Zygomycetes, Ascomycetes, Basidiomycetes, or any problem with the general characteristic of fungi.
No, sir.
No problem. Okay. So look, Deuteromycetes is the fungi. These are those fungi which do not have sexual reproduction. Like, or some of the scientists says that they are the fungi. They actually belong to a category of Ascomycetes, but those Ascomycetes which do not have sexual reproduction, which do not perform sexual reproduction, they have been kept in a different class in Deuteromycetes. So that's why most of the these fungi specialists, or we can say mycologists, they say that Basidiomycetes is not a class. Actually, Basidiomycetes is an artificial. Sorry, Deuteromycetes is artificial kind of a class. So this is the general consensus with the rest of the scientists. So let's start with the Basidiomycetes. So that is the general notion with the Basidiomycetes. So note it down, this some characteristic. So put the heading Deuteromycetes. Deuteromycetes. Please note it down. It is an first question. First point. It is an artificial class of fungi. It is an artificial class of fungi which has been created to include all those fungi. It has been created to include all those fungi where sexual stage is either absent. Sexual stage is either absent or not known. So Samara, did we have completed was you there in a class when I was telling the type of classification system? Did you attend that class?
No, sir.
No. Okay, fine. So let me tell you in the meantime, what is the artificial classification? So we are saying that Deuteromycetes is a class which is an artificial kind of the class. So what is the artificial class? Actually, artificial class is that kind of the class when we keep any organism or we keep any fungi, any plant, any animal on the basis of any morphological characteristic. When you keep all the organism in a group on the basis of morphological characteristic. So that kind of the classification is called artificial classifications. So what are the morphological characteristics? Suppose that if I ask you, Samara, What are the angiosperm? And you are saying, ki, sir, that if any plant have fruit and flower, so this is a angiosperm. So what you did on the basis of morphological characteristic, you have kept all the plants in a same group. So I will say that you are doing artificial classification, right? So artificial classification is what? When you classify organism on the basis of morphological characteristics. So do you know what are the morphological characteristics? Tamara, can you tell me what are the morphological characteristics?
They are external characteristics.
Exactly, they are external characteristics which can be seen by naked eye. They are called. So okay, so here in Deuteromycetes we are calling it artificial class because we have kept them on the basis of what? On the basis of sexual reproduction. And sexual reproduction, like sex organ, they can be like basidia or spores or sporangia. They can be seen by naked eye. Hence we are calling it artificial class, right? Next point. The mycelium is usually septate. Mycelium is usually septate, comma, cenocytic form are not known. Next point. Asexual reproduction occurs by conidia formation. Asexual reproduction occurs by conidia formation. Full stop. Keep on noting down on the same line. In some cases, even asexual reproduction is absent. The next point is very important point, noted on the last or next point. It is believed that most of the member of Deuteromycetes, are actually ascomycetes, in which sexual reproduction is absent. So what are the example of Deuteromycetes? Look, whatever the examples I have told you, please always remember all those examples because they have been frequently asked in your medical examination, right? The same in the same way, here I am telling you some example, and please keep keep these all examples in your mind because they are very important for your medical examination, not for your school examination, but they are very important for your medical examination. There is a disease in sugarcane, and we call it red rot disease of sugarcane. Red rot disease of sugarcane. Red rot disease of sugarcane is caused by fungi, and the name of this fungi is Colletotrichum fulcatum. Let me write it down this spelling. Colletotrichum fulcatum. Colletotrichum fulcatum. So, do you know about this disease? Have you listened about this disease, red rot disease?
No, sir.
Okay. So whenever you will like chew sugarcane stem, whenever you squeeze that sugarcane stem, sometime you will see there is a red spot or blood-like spot. some of the people, they think that this is like blood of some insect and all that. It's not like that. Actually, this is red color. Let me show you what is the red rot disease of sugarcane. I'm going to show you. Give me just a minute. Red rot disease of sugarcane. I'll show you. So they are red kind of the spot, and they destroy the crop of sugarcane, and they are actually not health hazard kind of the disease. It is not harmful for human, but it is harmful for red rot disease. It is harmful for productivity of the plant. So that is the scenario. In sugarcane, they destroy the sugarcane crop actually. So red rot disease. Actually, this is the red rot disease of sugarcane. I'm going to show you this one. This is actually the red rot disease. So the stem become blood red color, this one, and the leaves, even these sugar can become some reddish type, and this is stem where the sugar deposits, so they become of red color. This disease is called a red rot disease. Okay, so we call it, and this is caused by Coleotrichum fulcatum. Next one. So next disease is brown leaf. Second disease is brown leaf spot of rice. Brown leaf spot of rice. So what happened in this disease? Brown colored spots occurs in leaf of rice, and this disease is caused by a fungus, Helminthosporium. Helminthosporium oryzae. Helminthosporium oryzae. And the third is early blight disease. Early blight disease. Early blight disease is caused by Alternaria solani. Alternaria solani. All these member belongs to Deuteromycetes. And one more, tick disease. Tick disease of crucifer. Tick disease of crucifer. It is caused by Sarcospora. Sarcospora. Keep all these diseases in your mind. They are very, very, very important for your medical examination. And the disease, what I told in like Phytophthora infeston, all those and Puccinia graminis, these kind of the disease which I have told you in fungi kingdom, they are very important for your medical exam. So this is all about this. That's it for the fungi. If you have any query, please ask me.
No, sir.
No. Okay. So you got all the things whatever we have discussed. Okay. So you know, we did okay. So we did Monera. Did we completed it, Samira?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We did Protista.
Yes, sir.
We did fungi.
Yes, sir.
Now these are the three kingdoms which we have covered elaborately, right? Including the our this one medical examination. Now we will do two more kingdom. They are very important, and these all Monera, Protista, and fungi. We did as a 3 chapter. Again, we will do the kingdom Plantae, which is very big one. So fourth one will be Plantae, and the fifth one will be our Animalia. So other than Plantae and Animalia, along with this, in between, we have to cover two more important. So the next one will be lichen and virus. Did we covered virus or not? Tell me.
No, sir.
No. Okay, fine. Both are very important. So before going to the plant kingdom, that is our next chapter. I think, yeah, it's a next chapter even in your NCERT. So we'll start later on that. And before starting plant and animalia kingdom, like next two chapter, we have to cover lichen and viruses. Viruses are given in your NCERT. Even lichens are there, but they are and like they have been mentioned in few lines. So we have to take some more notes. So let's start with the lichen. Put the heading like this is a take it as a next chapter, lichen and virus. So first we'll cover lichen. So can you tell me what are the lichen? Do you know what are the lichens? Any idea, Samira? Lichens? What are the lichens?
No, sir.
No, fine. So first listen, try to understand what are the lichens. Actually, lichens are called dual organism. Dual organism. So why we are calling them dual organism? Actually, they are not a single organism. What happens? They are the combination of two things. They are a combination of algae and fungi. So what kind of the combination? Actually, algae provide them what? Let me tell you. So there is a network of fungi. So suppose that this is a network of fungi. In lichen, there will be a network of fungi. So this is actually these are the actually mycelia of fungi. So in mycelia of fungi, these are the mycelia of fungi. This mesh kind or network kind of mycelia of fungi. These are the mycelia of fungi. This is mycelia. And in these mycelia, so there will be some algal cell. In between the mycelia, there will be some algal cell. So this combination of algae and fungi will be called lichen. So they are made up of two kind of the organism. That's why we call them dual organism. So this is algae. Algae are what? Algae are a type of plant, right? Algae are a type of plant. In the same time, these are fungi. So this is fungi mycelia. We know what are the fungi mycelia. Even you know well what are the fungi mycelia. Now, what is the agreement between these two? Actually, fungi, algae are the plant. They can make their own food. So they make the food with the help of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis. But the demerit with the algae is that they do not have any root, leaf, or stem-like structure. So they do not have root, hence they are unable to absorb moisture or water from the ground soil. In the same time, what is with the fungi? That fungi is capable of absorbing water and mineral, but in the same time, fungi is not autotroph. It cannot make food. So what it do? It absorb water and mineral. So there is an agreement between these two. What happens? Algae provide food to fungi because fungi cannot make food. In the same time, in return, as a return gift, what fungi do? Fungi give water and mineral to this partner. What is algal partner? So both are helping each other and nobody is hurting another. What we call this kind of relationship?
Symbiotic relationship.
Very good. This kind of the relationship is called symbiotic relationship. Symbiotic relationship. Or rather than we also call this symbiosis. Symbiosis is also known as mutualism. So you can call it symbiotic relationship, you can call it mutualism, you can call it symbiosis. So mutual relationship. Mutual relationship. Right. So what are the lichens? Lichens are a symbiotic relationship. Lichens are a dual organism. They are made up of algae and fungi. Algal partner, one more important thing which I want to add on, then you have to note it down in your notebook. So algal partner are called phycobiont. Phycobiont. And fungi partner is called mycobiont. Right? So this is a combination of phycobiont and mycobiont, where algae and fungi both partners live in a symbiotic relationship. Both help each other. Nobody hurt nobody hurt each other, right? So that's why they are called dual organism. In lichen, the algal partner is called phycoband and fungi partner is called mycoband. Please note it down, then I'll explain. Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Note it down.
Noted, sir.
Okay, great, great. So please note it down. Lichens are called, this will be asked in your school examination. Lichens are called dual organism. They are the permanent association of, they are the permanent association of fungi and algae. They are the permanent association of fungi and algae. Full stop. The algal partner is called phycobiont. Sorry, phycobiont. Algal partner is called phycobiont and fungal partner is called mycobiont. And fungal partner is called mycobiont. Full stop. There are 15,000 species of lichen. Full stop. Lichens grow in most inhospitable places like barren rocks, cooled volcanic lava, sand dune, etc. Now, the next point is very important point for your medical examination. So make a star and note it down. Some of the lichen of Arctic region, are considered to be 4,500 year old. Some of the lichen of Arctic region are believed to be 4,500 year old. So on the basis of shape, note it down one more point. On the basis of shape, lichen can be of three types. Let me show you. On the basis of shape, lichen can be of three types. So let me show you this diagram. These are the three types of the lichen. On the basis of shape, we call lichen. These are the three lichens. Okay. So we classify them in three categories, or we divide them in three categories on the basis of their shape. So this is called crustose lichen. So this is the first category, crustose. They look like crust. Okay. So these are the fruitification means these are the sporing bodies, these are the reproductive body. Okay, and the example of crustose lichen is graphis, right? So crustose lichen look like this way. So they are like crust-like, and they remains stuck with the bark of stem or old trees, bark or in rocks. So they remains stuck with rocks. Okay, and the second one, the second one are these. They are called foliose lichen. Actually, and the example of foliose lichen is cora. Actually, foliose means leaf. So foliose is a Latin term, and foliose means leaf. So these structure look like leaf. That's why they are called foliose lichen. Foliose lichen. So these are the leafy structure or leaf-like structure. These are the leaf-like structures. So they are called foliose lichen. And the third category of lichen, they are called fruticose, right? So fruticose lichen, this is the third category of lichen, fruticose. And the example of fruticose lichen is Usnea. Actually, from this lichen, we extract usnic acid. This question have been asked in your medical examination, where we extract. So they have some flower-like structure. These are actually reproductive structure. They are not flower actually. So they are fungal fructification, means they are reproductive structure. They are not flower, but they look like flower, and they keep on hanging from some trees. So these are the lichens. So there are three kind of lichen: crustose, foliose, and fruticose. In fruticose, these flowering structure remains hanging. In foliose, these are like a leaf-like structure, and in crustose, they are crust-like, like circular structure. So you can take this screenshot, and you must be like noting on it.
Done, sir.
Done. Great. You have to note it down some example exclusively for your NEET exams. You have to give medical examination.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So whenever I say that these have been like these are the important for medical, means either they have been asked or they are supposed to be asked, right? So always when I say it's a medical question, so make a star and note it down. So you will whenever you will revise, you will remember that these are the medical question actually. Okay, next. So there are some example. Let me tell you some example. These are this question have been asked. There is a lichen named Cladonia. Cladonia is called actually reindeer moss. Cladonia is called reindeer moss. Okay. Reindeer moss. So actually, why we call it reindeer moss? When in Arctic region, there is like everything is covered with the snow and everything is frozen. There is nothing to eat. So what happened? These reindeer, they eat lichens, and they are very highly energetic, and they derive energy from these lichen, and they just spend their life, or their life is dependent on lichen only, and they exclusively eat this cladonia. That's why we call it reindeer. And one more. Next question, it have also been asked. The next is Lecanora. Lecanora. Lecanora is called bread of heaven. It is called bread of heaven. And Usnea. Usnea, I told you this one, Usnea. Usnea is used for medical purpose. Usnea is used for medical purpose. And I told you we extract usnic acid from it. And last but not the least, lichens are considered as the natural indicator of air pollution. Why? Do you have ideas, Samira? What lichens tell actually? They are called, note it down, lichens are called natural indicator of air pollution. Why they are called natural indicator of air pollution? Any idea? No?
No, sir.
Okay. Actually, Samara, what happened? If lichens of any area are dying, if they are dying, it means you have to like sense that if lichens are dying, then sulfur dioxide concentration is increasing in air, and sulfur dioxide concentration is like it comes out from the exhaust of diesel and petrol engines. So whenever diesel and petrol engines they release fumes, so due to these fumes, these lichens start dying, right? So if lichens of any reasons are start dying, then every environmental scientist understand that sulfur dioxide pollution is increasing in air due to any source. So that's why they are called the natural indicator of air, right?
Yes, sir.
Everything clear?
Yes, sir.
Great. Take the screenshot and then we'll move ahead.
Done, sir.
Great. So next one is important for your school examination. Mycorrhiza. Mycorrhiza. Yes, mycorrhiza. Mycorrhiza. I have a diagram of mycorrhiza. So look, Samara, what are the mycorrhiza? Actually, it's very important for your school examination. So same way, mycorrhiza, it's very, very important. So this is mycorrhiza. Let me write it down. Mycorrhiza, right? We write mycorrhizae, but we pronounce it mycorrhiza. Actually, what are the mycorrhiza? Again, it is also a kind of symbiotic relationship between plant and fungi. Plant means higher plant and fungi. So what happened? These are the ectomycorrhizal, means these are the fungi. So these fungi actually make external covering around the roots of mainly gymnosperm. Why with the gymnosperm? Actually, gymnosperm's roots are not that much efficient to absorb water from the soil. That's why that's why they are not that much evolved plant like angiosperm. Angiosperms are very evolved plant, and their roots are very stronger. So that's why they dominate everywhere in every terrain, in every climatic conditions. Angiosperms. Let me tell you a plant. There is a name of a plant. The name of the plant is Welwitschia. Welwitschia is that plant. Actually, it is found in the Sahara Desert, and the height of the plant is just 2 to 3 feet. And the peculiarity of Welwitschia that in 20 years, only 2 leaves come out in Welwitschia. The height of the plant is only 3 feet, but the height of the, or we can say the depth or length of the root is 265 feet. They can go up to 265 feet to absorb water. So that is the peculiarity of angiosperm. The roots of angiosperm are very strong, and they are capable of absorbing water from anywhere. But this is the demerit with the gymnosperm. The root of gymnosperm, like Cycas, Pinus, Thusa, so root of the gymnosperm are very weaker, and they are not that much efficient, and they are not that much capable of absorbing water from the soil or mineral from the soil. So here comes the role of the fungi. What fungi do? Fungi make a covering of covering or mantle like structure around the root of gymnosperm. So what gymnosperm do and what fungi do? They also have the same kind of the symbiotic relationship which we studied in lichen. Here, what fungi do? So this gives food to fungi. Food. In the same time, fungi give water and mineral. So what is mycorrhiza? It is a symbiotic relationship between roots of higher plant and clear.
Yes, sir.
Note it down, please. Mycorrhiza is symbiotic relationship. Mycorrhiza is a symbiotic relationship between roots of higher plant and fungi. Full stop. Fungi makes a mantle-like structure. Fungi makes a mantle-like structure around root, where it absorbs water and mineral, and gives it to plant. Full stop. In the same time, plant gives food to fungi. Full stop. Now there are two kind of mycorrhiza: ectomycorrhiza and endomycorrhiza. Ectomycorrhiza and endomycorrhiza. So what are the ectomycorrhiza? Ectomycorrhiza when this association only external, and endomycorrhiza when there is association is internal. Note it down. In ectomycorrhiza, fungi is found. In ectomycorrhiza, fungi is found only on the external surface of. In ectomycorrhiza, fungi is found only on the external surface of root, while in endomycorrhiza, a little amount of fungi penetrates inside. A little amount of fungi penetrates inside the root. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So mycorrhiza, keep in your mind. Ectomycorrhiza, endomycorrhiza, then lichen, keep in your mind. And the example which I have told you again, I will ask you to remember it. Now, should we start with the virus?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So before starting virus, you have to tell me what are the viruses. How can we define virus? Biologically, where we can place them, Samara? Tell me. How we can define? Can we call their organism? Or can we call their a type of cell? Can we say?
Sir, acellular.
Very good, very good. They are acellular. Can we call they are acellular organism?
Yes, sir.
Yes. And can we where we can place them in classification? Where we can place them? Protista, Monera, fungi. Can we place them somewhere
No.
or not? No. Right. We can't. Look. Let me explain you what are the actually viruses. Viruses. Okay. So first, I'll explain for you that what are the viruses. Actually, a virus is that member of biology, or we can say virus is that family member of biology which has been kicked out of biology family. It is biological entity, but it have not been placed inside the any classification system of the world. Not even a single scientist in this world have kept viruses in any biological classification. Why? Actually, when we call it biological classification, bios means life. So all the organisms should be living. The only living organism should come inside the criteria of biological classification. But virus is not a living organism. Actually, what is the status of virus? So when we talk about the virus, to put the heading virus, look, we cannot use cell term for virus, and even we cannot use organism term for virus. Organism term and cell term, like organism term, can be used only for those which have life, but virus do not have life. So if if I am saying that a virus is an organism, then I am wrong technically, or we can say you are wrong biologically. Biologically, we are not correct, because organisms are those which have life. In the same time, cell, there is a criteria of cell. If any entity do not have protoplasm, we cannot use cell term for it. Virus do not have protoplasm, even we cannot use virus. So what we call, so you have already told me that for viruses we cannot use cell term, so what we call them acellular. That is not a cell. That is not a cell. So it is not a cell. So viruses, why organism? So it is acellular, it's a structure. It's not organism, it's a structure. So virus is a acellular structure. And what is the composition of this structure? So virus is made up of two kind of things. First, protein, and then nucleic acid. So virus is made up of only two things. First, protein, and then nucleic acid. What is the nucleic acid, Samara? What is nucleic acid? Only two things are called nucleic acid: DNA or RNA. So when you call DNA, you call it deoxyribonucleic acid. You call it deoxyribonucleic acid. And at the same time, for RNA, you call it only ribonucleic acid. In both of them, you use a single term, that is nucleic acid. So here also nucleic acid, here also nucleic acid. So commonly for DNA and RNA, we call nucleic acid. So in a virus, there will be either DNA or RNA. There is no single virus across the world where DNA and RNA are both found in the same time. So what is the composition of virus? Virus is made up of two things: protein and nucleic acid. And in nucleic acid, there will be either DNA or RNA. Both cannot be found in the same time. Clear, Samara?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this was the composition. I'll show you diagram. Before showing the diagram and going into the lectural part, I want to make you more clear that what exactly the viruses are. Second important thing, why I'm saying that they are not. So what we call them? Neither we call them living nor non-living. Why? Why? What is the reason behind it? Look. And why viruses are neither living nor non-living? So let me answer you. When viruses are inside any living, suppose that virus entered inside my body, or virus entered inside any bacterial or plant body. So what will happen? They will start reproduction or multiplication. So when anything multiply or anything reproduce, we call it is living. This is characteristic of living. So that's why by this way, virus can multiply, hence it's living. When virus is outside of living, it do not multiply. It do not multiply. So when it do not multiply, it is non-living. So when virus is inside any living, it behave like living. When virus is outside of living, it's behave like non-living. So what we give the status to a virus, we give a status, we call it connecting link between living and non-living. Connecting link between living and non-living. Living and non-living. So virus is neither living nor non-living. It is connecting link between living and non-living. Hence, virus is not a living entity. We do not keep virus in any classification system. That is the reason behind. Is it clear to you? Is it crystal clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Note it down, please. Then we'll go ahead.
Done, sir.
Okay. So let's note it down. Start noting. Virus is a acellular structure. Virus is a acellular structure which is made up of protein and nucleic acid, which is made up of protein and nucleic acid, which is made up of protein and nucleic acid. Full stop. Next point. A virus can have either DNA or RNA as a virus can have either DNA or RNA as their genetic material. What is genetic material? A virus can have either DNA or RNA as their genetic material. Full stop. Underline. Both cannot exist. Both cannot exist in a same virus. So, Samara, what is genetic material? Tell me, please. What is genetic material? Any idea? And why we call DNA or RNA genetic material? Look, me, you, and rest of the people, most of the us have some of the feature of our mother and some of the feature of our father physically. Is it correct?
Yes, sir.
99% right? 1% they may be matching with their like the grandfather, grandmother, or someone else as well. So, but in 99% cases, we have some of the feature. Even you and me, we have some of the feature of our mother, some of the feature of our father, right? Why it's that? Because we have got DNA or RNA, basically DNA. We have got DNA from our mother. We have got RNA from our mother. So what is the thing which is transferring from a generation to another generation, from parents to their offspring, like from parent to their children? So this is the only DNA, which are even sometime RNA, like in viruses. In the case of virus, this is RNA as well. But normally DNA and RNA, they transfer from one generation to another. That's why we call them genetic material. If you want, please note it down. DNA and RNA, they transfer from DNA and RNA, they transfers from a generation to another, from a generation to another, That's why they are called genetic material. Now tell me, is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Keep on asking me if you have any doubt, any query. If you have, even if you have any basic query, never hesitate. Always ask. Let me show you diagram of a virus, ideal virus in fact. So this is a diagram of ideal virus, what I am going to show you. Let me open it. Actually, this is diagram of a virus. It is ideal virus which we study. So the name of this virus is bacteriophage. Actually, bacteriophage are those viruses. Bacteriophage is the Latin term. If you breaks biological term in Latin into English, that will be very convenient for you. So, you know, bacterio means bacteria, and phases means eating. So in literally mean of this term, bacteriophage means bacteria eating. Actually, they are the virus. They cannot eat bacteria. Why? Because bacteria is 1,000 times larger than virus in size, in term of size. If you compare in term of size, the virus is like mouse, and bacteria is like elephant. So that is the size difference between bacteria and virus. But what the virus can do, actually, they can kill the bacteria. So they kills the bacteria. That's why we call them bacteriophage. So those viruses which attack to bacteria and they kill the bacteria, they are called bacteriophage virus, right? So this is a bacteriophage virus. Physically, we divide them head, and this part is called neck, and this part is called tail sheath. Okay, and they are called tail fiber, right? And if we call chemically, then if we talk technically or chemically, this is DNA. So this is the genetic material of virus. So I told you few seconds before, genetic material. So this is genetic material, and either it will be DNA or even it can be RNA. So genetic material will be DNA or RNA. Both cannot coexist, and I have told you a few seconds before. And if we talk about this upper part. So this upper part, this is made up of, or this upper covering, this is made up of protein. And what is the name of this protein? The name of this protein, it's very important. The name of this protein is called, can you tell me what is the name of this protein? Capsid. It is made up of capsid protein. So the name of the protein is capsid. So this virus, our external covering is made up of capsid protein, and this internal part is made up of genetic material DNA and RNA. So this is the composition of virus. Take the screenshot and draw it in your notebook after the class.
Taken, sir.
Great. Clear? Samara, crystal clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So tell me, who discovered virus? Who discovered virus? It's an old question of actually medical examination. Who discovered virus? And two questions. I'll tell you, they are very frequently asked, and now there are very few chances that they will be asked, but the first one is important. It can be asked. There was a scientist for virus. He said that virus is, for what he said about the virus. He said contagium vivum, contagium vivum fluidum. So for virus, he said contagium vivum fluidum. And this question have been asked in the highest examination of our country, AIMS examination, and many time in NEET examination it has been asked. It's an old question, contagium vivum flavum. And the question was same everywhere in medical examination. Question was same, that who given this statement for the virus contagium vivum fluidum. It means a fluid which is contagious, and so for virus he said it is a fluid which is contagious, right? Can you tell me who given this statement? The name of the scientist is Bajring. Note it down and keep in mind. Make a star. Contagium vivum fluidum was said for virus, and the statement was given by Bajring. Beijering. Bajring. Bajring was a scientist who said contagium vivum fluidum for virus. And actually,
So,
yes,
what is contagium?
contagion is contagious, right? Look, what happened? Suppose that Samira, a person have TB. You know the TB disease, tuberculosis.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so TB is a disease which is very infectious kind of disease. What happens when a person sneeze, when a person cough, the person who's affected by TB, their lungs are always affected with the TB, and their lungs are filled with a kind of the fluid. He will keep on coughing. He will keep on coughing. So whenever he will keep like cough, what happens? Some droplet comes out of it. And suppose that this is a phone, and in your phone, like he have a phone, so and he's coughing every time, and putting hand in the same time in the phone, right? So what will happen? Now the bacteria transferred in the form of the fluid in his hand, and now the same time bacteria transferred in the phone. So you will say this phone is contagious, means it have infecting pathogen. So contagion, anything which have pathogen and which can infect a healthy person, that is called contagious. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So contagium means that contain infected pathogen. Vivum means living. Fluidum means liquid. So the liquid which is contagious and have some living pathogen. That is the English translation of this statement. Contagium vivum fluidum. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now the person who discovered virus, his name was Ivanovsky. Ivanovsky was a Russian scientist. So he was working on disease. Actually, he was a this microbiologist. So Ivanovsky. So Ivanovsky was a scientist. In 1892, he saw where he discovered. Ivanovsky discovered in tobacco plant. In fact, tobacco leaves. He saw in a tobacco leaves what happens, that this is a tobacco leaf. It's a tobacco leaf. And he saw that in tobacco leaf there are certain spots. And this disease, let me erase this one, contagium vivum. Okay. So he said that this disease is called mosaic disease. So he was studying mosaic disease. When he was studying mosaic disease, he was surprised that he have never seen that kind of the organism. That this is neither living nor non-living. It's behave differently. He said it virus, right? So the virus, the disease which is caused by this virus, mosaic disease, the name of the virus was TMV, and the full form of TMV is tobacco mosaic virus. So tobacco mosaic virus was the first virus of the world which were discovered, and tobacco mosaic virus was discovered by TMV was so in short we called it TMV. So TMV was the first virus which were discovered, and it was discovered by Ivanovsky in 1982. Where? In tobacco leaves. Even it's a very old question of NEET examination. All these are the questions of your medical examination, right? Note it down. So Ivanovsky discovered virus in Ivanovsky discovered virus in tobacco leaves, full stop. The first virus of the world, was TMV. TMV. One a more important thing, very important question which can be asked in your medical examination. TMV is a RNA virus. It do not have DNA, so it is made up of RNA plus protein. TMV is a RNA virus. TMV is a RNA virus. A question. Let me ask you a question. It's a medical examination question. Did you take any screenshot of this one, Samara?
Yes, sir. Take.
Fine. So should I remove it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So because I want to write down in whiteboard. Look. So there was a question in medical examination. Even it can be asked again, right? So that's why I'm discussing you. What is the composition of HIV? HIV, you know?
Yes,
It's
sir.
a virus.
AIDS.
Yeah, right. AIDS virus. So what is the composition of HIV? It has been asked in medical exam, and it can be asked again. It is made up of two things. It is made up of RNA plus it is made up of RNA and protein. And actually in RNA, this is double-stranded RNA. Double-stranded RNA. Samara, do you have any idea about the double-stranded DNA, single-stranded DNA, double-stranded RNA, single-stranded RNA? Any idea?
No.
Okay. So we generally study in 10th class. That's why I'm asking. Let me make you clear. Look. So till the time I'm telling you the basic thing, right? And like we'll get some chance to study in our chapter number 9. That is a biomolecule. I think it's the 9th chapter. Exactly. I think it's 9th chapter. Yes, it's 9th chapter in NCERT biomolecule. So we will study in detail about the DNA and RNA in our 9th chapter. That is the biomolecule. Till the time I'm telling you some basic. So how much syllabus you have covered in your schools, Samara?
So we have started a structural organization in animals.
Okay, you have just started. So no issue. Look, what is DNA? So DNA is a genetic material which is found in humans. So DNA is, we call it deoxyribonucleic acid. That is the actually full form of DNA. So what is the structure of DNA? So DNA is made up of Samara two things. Look, generally this is DNA. This is one DNA. So DNA have two DNA is look like ladder like structure. So 1 and 2. These are called strand. Right? Strand are made up of two things. Sugar and plus phosphate. Right? So strand are very strong. They work like backbone of DNA. They are called backbone of DNA. They are called backbone of DNA. Again, one more important thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. They have these 10 pair of nitrogen bases. What? Nitrogen bases. So it's a ladder like structure. So generally DNA is, how many strands are there?
10.
Right. So DNA strand, 2 strand, no? 10 nitrogen bases. Strands are 2. So generally DNA is what? Double stranded. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So DNA is double stranded structure. But DNA can never be single stranded. Generally DNA is double stranded. But In virus, it can be single stranded. Got my point?
Yes, sir.
And what is just the RNA? Let me tell you the RNA as well. Actually, it's very important. You must have basic idea about the DNA and RNA. That's why I'm telling you. So what's about the RNA? RNA is called ribonucleic acid. Ribonucleic acid. So Samara, what is with the RNA? RNA, the length of RNA can be any. It can be up to, it can have 1,000 nucleotides, 1,000 nitrogenous base, 100 nitrogen base. So it's not fixed. So they have single stranded. So this is one strand, and they have number of nitrogenous bases. They are nitrogenous bases. They are nitrogenous bases. Nitrogen bases. So RNA, how many strands are there? Single strand. So RNA is single strand normally. So in our body, RNA is found in our body as well. It is found in plants body, it is found in fungi body, it is found in bacterial body. So RNA is always single stranded and DNA is always double stranded in general. But in the case of virus, RNA can be what? Double stranded. Got my point?
Yes, sir. So, sir,
yes.
so, sir, DNA can be single stranded in virus and RNA can be double in virus.
Right, in viruses. Only in viruses, DNA can be double as well as single stranded. In the case of viruses, DNA can be single or double stranded RNA. Sorry. In the case of viruses, DNA can be both single or double stranded. Same thing in the case of RNA. It can be double stranded as well as single stranded, only in viruses. But for the rest of the world, excluding virus, other than viruses, if you call about the bacteria, if you call about the fungi, if you call about the plant, if you call about the animal, in all these organisms, DNA will always be double stranded and RNA will always be single stranded. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Only viruses are exceptions, right? Please note it down this. A virus may have both double and single stranded DNA and RNA. Can have both double and single stranded DNA and RNA. Full stop. For rest of all the biological organisms, DNA will be double stranded. DNA will be double stranded and RNA single stranded and RNA single stranded. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Great. Now, what are the type of viruses? Write it down. One more important thing. That is factual thing. The size of virus. Size of a virus may be from 10 nanometer to 1300 into 6 nanometer. Nanometer, what kind of the quantity is it? How many meter in a nanometer? 1 nanometer nm. 1 nanometer is equal to Samara 10 to power minus 9 meter, right? 1 nanometer is equal to 10 to power minus 9 meter, right? Now the next thing is type of virus. How many type of the viruses are there? So on the basis of shape, let me see. Is there any diagram of type of viruses? Yes. Okay. Hmm. Right. On the basis of shape, viruses can be of four types. Right. Note it down. On the basis of shape, viruses can be on the basis of shape, viruses can be of four types. Let me open a diagram for you. Look, these are the viruses, Samara. So on the basis of shape, viruses can be four types. First, helical virus. So this is TMV. So TMV is helical virus. Where, what is this? This is RNA. And what is this? This is protein. In the same time, this is polyhedral virus, adenovirus. So in what is that? This is genetic material, DNA or RNA. What is that? Right. So this is genetic material, or we can say nucleic acid. And again, this globular part is, this is spherical part is protein. Again, a spherical virus, influenza virus. So can you recognize the this one? What to say? Coronavirus. What kind of virus is it?
Influenza virus.
Yeah, it's influenza virus, right? This is spherical, right? So first kind of helical virus, second polyhedral virus, third is spherical virus, and fourth one is complex, like we studied bacteriophage. Take this screenshot. So on the basis of shape, virus can be of four types: helical, polyhedral, spherical, and complex. So coronavirus is spherical virus, where outer cover is made up of protein, external protein, and inner part is made up of nucleic acid.
Taken, sir.
Done? Okay. Again, now one more classification that also I want to share with you. So note karenge, note it down. On the basis of host, viruses can be of following type. Host is correct. On the basis of host, viruses can be of following type. First, phytoviruses. So phytoviruses are those which infect what? Plant. Means host is plant. Second type. So they are phytoviruses, or rather than phytovirus, sorry, we call them phytophagine. Phytophagine. Let me write it down more clearly. That's why we don't get confused. Phytophagine. Phyto. PHAGINAN. Phytophagini. They are plant viruses. And then again, euphagini means they are animal viruses. Euphagini are animal viruses. Again, third type are phaginae. PHAGINEA. Phaginae means they are parasite on lower organism. parasite on lower organism. So in phagocyte, so bacteriophages are phagocyte, like bacteriophages. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So these are the types of the viruses. So this was all about the viruses, and one more important thing, you can note it down. One more important thing, which I want you to note it down. Sometime actually you will get these questions. Look, the virus with DNA plus protein, we call them U viruses. U viruses. U means new. U is a Latin term. U means new. U viruses means new viruses, or they are also called deoxyvira. U viruses or deoxyvira. The viruses which are made up of RNA plus protein. It may be double stranded or RNA single stranded. It doesn't matter. RNA plus protein. They are called retroviruses. So HIV is a type of what? Retrovirus. Clear, Samara? TMV is a type of what? Retrovirus.
Yes.
Clear? So they are also called ribovira. Again, there are certain viruses which are made up of only protein. If any virus is made up of only protein, they are called what? Prions. They are called prions. And there are certain viruses, which means these are the viruses which do not have any nucleic acid. They are made up of only protein. They are called prions. And some of the viruses, they are made up of only nucleic acid. Means either they do not have protein. These are called virons. So again, these are the category. I want you to note it down and keep in your mind. Because sometime you will get the question, HIV is a type of U virus, retrovirus, prion, or virons. Then you will get confused what kind of the classification. I haven't studied it. But on that time, it will help you to solve the questions.
Done, sir.
So, Samara, is there any confusion or is there any doubt in viruses?
No, sir.
Great. So, note down some retroviruses. Rabies, polio, HIV, TMV. Rabies, polio, HIV, TMV. They are retroviruses. So we did viruses, we did this one. Now let's start with the plant. Put the heading, next chapter. So, and after the class, I expect that you will revise all these concepts of fungi, go through with the fungi, go through with this one, lichen, go through with this one, viruses. And in case if you are facing any problem, if you are facing any problem, even you need question, you can ask me. Now let's start with the plant. So start with next chapter, that is plant kingdom. Plant. Okay. Now again, this is a phylogenetic classification. right? Where we study on the basis of evolution. So how the plant evolved. Before starting, let me give you a snapshot of plant, right? So we have classified plant in 5 categories on the basis of evolution only. So why we have classified and what is the basis of classification? That's why I want to tell you, right? So first plant which arrived on the earth, they are algae. So first plant which arrived on the earth were algae. After the thousands of years, or we can say after the million of years, from algae, the next most better evolved plant, they came on the earth. So they were bryophytes. Now bryophyte arrived on the earth. After the arrival of the bryophyte, so bryophytes are called amphibian of plant kingdom. Why they are called amphibian? We will discuss all these things. They are called amphibian of plant. Samara, what are the amphibian? What are the amphibians, Samara?
That live in water.
No idea. Okay. Look, Samara, amphibians are frog. Frog is best example of amphibians. Amphibians are those organisms, actually, they live in water as well as on land. So for the frog, same way, you see the frog can live inside the water and it can live equally outside of the water. It do not die. You know it? It do not die out of the water.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what's about this? What about this one? Amphibians. The peculiar, like suppose that you have a frog. It can go inside water. It can come out of water, and it can survive. Even it can live comfortably at the both of the atmosphere. Inside the water, it live comfortably. Out of the water, it live comfortably. It is not going to die. Neither it's getting hard out of the water. But if water is not over there, they cannot reproduce. So for amphibian, they require water for their reproduction. Without water, they cannot reproduce. Same thing with bryophytes. They can live out of the water. They can live without the water. They can live with very minimal amount of the water, but without the moisture, they cannot reproduce. That's why they are called amphibian of plant. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So after millions of the year of bryophyte, third kind of the plant they came on the earth. They are called pteridophytes. Pteridophyte. After pteridophyte, the better and evolved plant came. They are called gymnosperm. And last but not the least, after gymnosperm, now it came angiosperm. So we have to study all. This is the classification. So plant kingdom has been divided in 5 classes. So first class is algae, second class is bryo, then pteridophyte, then gymno, then angiosperm. Note it down, then I will tell you what is the peculiarity of all these.
Done, sir.
Okay. So is it legible for you? Whatever I write on the whiteboard, is it legible
Yes,
for you?
sir.
Okay, fine. So first it came algae. Now let me tell you what are the algae and what are the. I am just giving you snapshot. That's why whenever we will start the this plant classification, you will be comfortably, you will be able to understand each and every point. So first, algae arrived on the earth, and algae are, you can't tell, like this kind of. This is the structure of Chlamydomonas. This is algae. It's a Chlamydomonas algae. Again, there is one more algae. This is Spirogyra. The ribbon-like structure is Spirogyra. So what are the algae? Algae are mainly aquatic. I'm telling you main feature. Mainly aquatic. Means mainly they are found in water. Either it's marine water or it's fresh water. but there is no root, stem, or leaves. There is no root, stem, or leaf. There is no flower, seed, or fruit. They do not have all these kind of structures. They are just green, they are just autotrophic, right? And they are just plant, right? So they are mainly found in aquatic fish. After the algae, now it came, they do not have any root-like structure, they do not have any stem-like structure. After the algae, after a million of years, a new kind of the plant arrived on the earth. And they are called amphibian of plant kingdom, means bryophyte. Now let me show you a bryophyte structure. So these kind of the structure are called bryophytes. The heart-like structure, different kind liver-like structure. Even they do not have a root and stem and leaves, but yes, they do have some. These are called rhizoid. So rhizoids are not root, but they are root-like structure. Root-like structure. They have same function, like absorbing water plus mineral. So they absorb water plus mineral. So now the root-like structure started developing. That is the evolution. On the upper surface, on the other hand, they have hair-like structure. These hair-like structure, they are called scale. So what are the scales? They are hair-like structure. And what is their functionality? They function like leaf. They function like leaves. So again, they have developed something which is leaf-like. They functionally they are leaf, and functionally they are root. But there again, if you'll ask me, no root, stem, or leaves. Again, no seed, fruit, and flower. Clear, Samara?
Yes, sir.
Please note it down.
Done, sir.
Okay, fine. Do you have any idea where these bryophytes are found? Any idea? Have you listened about them or not? Any idea for bryophytes? They're very rare plant.
They're found in hills.
They're found in right. They are found in hills. Have you seen them?
No.
No. Okay. So which part of the world do you live? Where you live?
Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia. Fine. Okay. Let me tell you, they are actually abundantly found in the China, and even in India. India, they are found in only one point. That is actually Panchmadi Hills. These are in Madhya Pradesh. It's a central part of India. So they are found in a specific point that is central part of India. And there is a hill station called Panchamadi Hills. So they are found over here. But in China, they are found abundantly. You know, Chinese people, they think that those bryophytes which look like heart, they are they cure for heart element, heart disease. Those which look like liver, they cure liver disease, but it's not like that. They do not have any medicinal value. But Chinese people are taking it like anyway. So, but this is not true. They are not. They do not have any medicinal value, actually. So now, in the course of evolution, the third plant arrived on the earth, and these third plant are pteridophytes. Pteridophyte. So again, after a million of years, pteridophytes evolved on the earth. So what happened and what are the peculiarity of pteridophyte? Actually, pteridophyte, they look like plant. Now the era of plant started. Now you can say they look like modern plant. They resemble something like modern plant. Yes, they do have a root, and again they do have leaves. They have the stem and they have leaves. Again, on the leaves, they do not have seed is still not developed over there. So on the leaf, they have some this kind of the structure. These structures are called spores. So reproduction still takes place with the help of spore. Means seed do not develop. So yes, root, stem, and leaves are present in plant still. No seed, flower, or fruit. Vascular system developed, not developed, vascular system is present in primitive form or in initial form, primitive form. Do you have a, what is the vascular system, Amara?
Xylem and phloem.
Very good, excellent. Xylem and phloem means those parts which conduct xylem plus phloem. So development of the xylem and phloem started, but we cannot call them vascular system. They were not fully developed. Primitive level xylem and phloem development started. Not enough.
Done, sir.
Okay, great. After pteridophyte, now the era of gymnosperm started. Uh, let's see, gymnosperm. Actually, gymno means naked and sperm means seed. Naked. So Latin, gymno means naked and sperm means seed. So gymnosperms are this kind of the plant, like cycas, pinus. We'll study in detail. And they have this cone-like structure in the middle. They look like date palm, like this kind of structure. So they have well developed root, stem, and leaves. Seed are present. Vascular system present. Vascular system developed. Means xylem phloem developed, but still no fruits or flower or flower. Example is cycas.
Done, sir.
Okay, great. Now the era of, okay, let me tell you. Gymnosperm, when gymnosperm arrived in the same time, dinosaur arrives. So Jurassic time period, this time period, Jurassic. Jurassic time period is called the golden era of gymnosperm and dinosaurs, giant lizards. Jurassic. So Jurassic is a time period. This is called the golden era for gymnosperm and dinosaurs. What happened? Both were not competent or both were not fit for the environment. So that's why nowadays you will find the gymnosperm in mountainous area, and dinosaurs, they are the history only. They are not found on the earth and they just disappeared from the earth. And most of the gymnosperms disappeared from the earth, right? A very few exist still, because whenever the evolution takes place, the efficient one displays non-efficient, right? In the same way, what happened? Angiosperm arrived, last but not the least, the angiosperm. Angio, look, Latin angio means covered, and sperm means seed, where seed is covered, right? They have well developed stem, root, and leaves. Okay. Next. Most efficient and advanced, most efficient vascular system, vascular system. They bear flower, fruit, and seed. Okay. Seed are covered. Seed are covered. And angiosperms are also known as flowering plant, because flower comes only in angiosperms, right? Again, the angiosperms have been divided in two classes. Angiosperms have been divided in two classes. What? Monocot and dicot. Monocot mainly they encompasses like crop plant, crop, and grasses. Like rice is monocot, and this one rice, wheat, barley, maize, they all are monocot. And dicot, they include pulses and most of the large plant. Large plant. So this is all about the snapshot of the classification, and this is the actually evolutionary sequence of the plant. Samara, did you got a broad idea about the this complete chapter?
Yes, sir.
So that's how the evolutionary classification is done. So please note it down, then we'll go ahead and we'll start with the plant.
Done, sir.
Done. Great. Now let me show you the classification of plant. Plant kingdom. Give me one second. Classification of plant. classification. And I got monopod, right. So it seems it will like it may be a bit difficult for you, but this is not that much difficult. Let me make you understand. This is the actually classification of plant. So there is a kingdom called plant kingdom. We have again. Okay. So again, we have classified plant kingdom. Let me make you more larger so that you can take a screenshot easily. Okay, look. So this is about the plant kingdom. So we have divided them. Again, we studied algae, then bryophyte, pteridophyte, gymnosperm, and angiosperm. Algae have again been divided into three classes. First class is chlorophyceae, phaeophyceae, and rhodophyceae. We have to study that, right? Again, bryophyte have been divided into two categories: liverworts and mosses. Here in our syllabus, the classification of pteridophyta is not in our syllabus. In your syllabus, classification of algae is there, that you have to study chlorophyceae, phaeophyceae, and rhodophyceae. You will see in your classification system, right? You will see in your algae part, right? Again, the bryophyte have been divided liverwort and mosses. Again, pteridophyta have been divided in four categories: xylophyta, lycophyta, sphagnophyta, and petrophyta. But they are not in our syllabus. Again, in gymnosperm, there are sagittales, coniferales, gingols, and nitales. They are not in our syllabus. Again, in angiosperm, we have to study. Yes, they are in your syllabus. So you have to study dicot and monopod. Take the screenshot where I am putting, like, let me put the red tick. Where I am taking the red tick, that is in our syllabus. But this is the actual classification of plant. These all are in our syllabus. Dicot, monopod. These are the classification of pterido and gymnos, not in our syllabus. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Start noting down. Now we will start with the algae. Right. No, today we are not going to start with algae. I'll tell you one more important. Next class we'll start with algae, because today we don't have that much time to start with algae, because we are running short with time today. So one more important thing which I want to tell you, because you will study, you will encounter these terms frequently. Look, till here in bryophyta and pteridophyta, these are the two plants where root, stem, and leaves are not defined. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So what we call these plants? So when any plant where root, stem, and leaves are not well defined, these kind of plant we call thallus. So both have thallus, both do not have proper plant body, both have thallus. So we keep them both in thallophyta. Did you got my point? Thallophyta.
Yes,
Note it
sir.
down. Note it down. If a plant do not have clear differentiation of plant, stem, and leaf, we call these kind of the plant, we call these kind of plant, thallus. Full stop. Algae and bryo both have thallus-like body. Hence, both have thallus-like body. Hence, they have been kept in single group. Hence, they have been kept in single group called Thallophyta. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So, Samara, is there any doubt or problem or any question? Whatever we have studied today.
No, sir, no doubt.
Okay. So you have to do one thing. After the class, you have to recollect all these things, whatever I have told you. You have to go through with your fungi part. You have to go through with your viruses and lichen, and even this sequence of classification of the plant. What we have discussed. And in case if you are feeling any problem, or in case if you are encountering any question, if you are solving your NEET examination questions, so you can ask me in next class, right?
Okay, sir.
Clear? So see you in next class with some more questions, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Bye bye. Take care. Good night.